Hello, dear friends. Here we are, 30 days of good news with the Master. This is day 5. Yes, we've been here for 5 days. The journey of 30 days of good news with the Master is a therapeutic encounter for all of us who are willing to learn more about new tools, acquire new tools, so we can actually understand more what to do in the current times. It may be challenging for many and all of us. Why not? That's why we're here to learn, right? Hello, Jussara. Love the flowers. And hi, Rita Cassia. Thank you for joining us. Today, we are learning with the Master the good news he shared with his disciples. Disciples can be anyone who is willing to learn. So if today you are feeling like learning, being a disciple of Jesus, there is still time. There is always an open position as for the discipleship of Jesus, okay? So hi, Rose. So here we are. Chapter 5 of the book Boa Nova, in English, Good News, which is soon, hopefully, to be published by the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. This book was received in 1940 through the mediumistic abilities of Chico Xavier and Humberto de Campos the Spirit, or Brother X, his pen name spiritually speaking. He brought us this news. This book is not fictitious, a fictitious account or fiction, a spiritual fiction. No, this is like a report of passages that happened at Jesus' time. Okay? Thank you, my friends. We feel the love, and as my friend Carol says, and the love feels good. Hi, Rudy. Good seeing you here. So, are you ready? Ready, set, go! The disciples. Chapter 5 of the book begins like this. Let us travel in time with our dear Humberto de Campos, Hi Adilson and Solange. The Master frequently gathered a large community of his followers around Capernaum. Very interesting. He's telling us about a habit of Jesus. He frequently gathered a large community. Maybe it's trivial for us, but not so trivial. Imagine yourself constantly being, facing the public, having minimal or non-private life. It's not easy. It demands a lot of self-composure to do it. It's not simple. It's not easy. Many people waited for him along the way, eager to hear his instructive word. Before long, he assembled his small school of disciples. So in the same paragraph, we can have an analysis here. He's talking about how he opened his heart to the many, but he prepared a few to spread the work. Very interesting for us, because we often tend to think that once we are sharing with the public any knowledge, soon after all of them are going to join us in the effort. No. With Jesus himself, he selected a few, but helped the public at large. This is something for us to meditate upon, so we are not constantly struggling with expectations that are unfounded, because human nature does not allow us to actually go through the pathway of spreading the good news and expecting that everyone is going to join in immediately. Okay? Hello, Ceisa, Solange, and hello, Albita. Good seeing you. We miss you here. Okay. After one of his preachings about the new kingdom, he called the 12 companions, who from that time forward would be the interpreters of his actions and teachings. Hello, dear Daisy and João Bosco. Yes, you see, he started the work before he actually gave the instructions. Another lesson for us. Do you expect people to be on the same page with you before you actually start any work? That's the first quiz of the day. Yes, because in between these descriptions, we are learning the lessons that Humberto de Campos purposefully is sharing with us. He's saying, Jesus started the work and he gathered the people, but he only gave the instructions after he started the work. I know many people who start spiritist centers, etc., like this. They want many people to be gathering together on the same page, thinking the same for them to actually begin. It's never going to happen. Never. Ever, ever. It didn't happen with Jesus, it's not going to happen with us. Because it's not human nature. We're not on the same page. And we can't expect for everybody to be on the same page, so we started. Okay? So we have our individual commitment to God, and when people are ready, we teamwork. Because we know teamwork is also from the spiritual realm to the physical, right? So let's think about this. Are you waiting for other people to do what you have to do? Begin it yourself. Because people will gather together with you when they understand. Maybe now you have to take the lead. Some people call us like, oh, we don't have a spiritist center here. What do we do? Well, begin it yourself. Why not? Why not? Start a spiritist group. Saturday, Kardec Radio, Adriano Barbo and I, and whomever else wants to join in, we're going to talk about how to administer a spiritist center. Many people have been asking us this question at Kardec Radio. We're finally able to dedicate a whole program to it, okay? So, they were the most humble and simple men from the lake of Gennesaret. Another instruction for us. Do not expect people to be of a socioeconomic status, of external beauty, and lots of knowledge. Jesus, the governor of the planet, chose humble, simple people. Humble and simple people. Why? Because they are open. Remember Paul, when he visited Athens? They were not open. They were intellectually blind. Remember when Paul explained that there are two types of people that are very resistant to Jesus' teachings. First, those who have delusions of material life and think that they know it all. They don't need Jesus. They don't need anything. That's the people, the false intellectual people. Because when we're truly rational, like use our reasoning, we'll come to the conclusion that life really goes on. Then the second type of people that are resistant to Jesus' teachings are those like the Pharisees of Jesus' time, said Paul. Those who are stuck in religious fanaticism. Okay. So, Peter, and then he's going to tell the names of all of them. Peter, Andrew, Philip, who they were. They came from Bethsaida. James and John came from there as well, but they were the descendants of Zebedee, the ones we talked about yesterday, right? Levi, Thaddeus, James, sons of Alphaeus and his wife Cleophas, a relative of Mary of Nazareth. They were Nazarenes who learned to love Jesus since childhood. They were often called the Lord's brothers due to their deep affection for Jesus. How beautiful is this? Yeah, sometimes we say we follow through the pathway of the good and family or relatives don't join in. Well, you see, Jesus had some of his relatives joining him, Levi, Thaddeus, and James. And then we see Thomas from Dalmanutha, Bartholomew, who was born in a hard-working family in Cana of Galilee, Simon, later called the Zealot, left his home in Canaan to devote himself to fishing, Only one of them, Judas, was different from the others, because he was born in Iscariot. He devoted himself to a small business in Capernaum, where he sold fish and trinkets. Well, in the beginning, the Messiah's small group of companions had some difficulty agreeing amongst themselves. Are you surprised that they didn't agree? They didn't get along from the get-go? Are you surprised? That is interesting. Humberto de Campos is revealing to us that when we are working for the good, we may have differences. He's telling us petty conflicts arose and pulled them apart. From time to time, the master would encounter them in their useless discussions about who would be the greatest in the kingdom of God. I read this and I say, man, we're still so similar. We have our differences, small conflicts, like petty, like so silly conflicts, and always useless discussions, and always trying to compete with one another, who is the greatest. But why? Why? We ask. Why? If everyone is a child of God, everyone has a direct connection with God, why do we have to focus on the differences? Why do we have to focus on minor discussions and disagreements? Why do we have to take it so personal to the point that we need to compete? Why? And okay, so the therapeutic moment for us, let us do an exercise. Whenever, like the disciples of Jesus at his time, we feel like we need to, even if we don't show to others that we're better than other people, who even are doing the work of God and are helping people, let's do the following. Let's admire them. Admire with sincerity. We don't need to tell the world. But say a prayer and say, I hope that Divaldo Franco succeeds until the last minute of this reincarnation, instead of thinking something negative. Or, let's say, somebody is working hard on a project at your work, your co-workers, and then instead of like, oh my gosh, they're doing this, and maybe this is not exactly what the boss wants, etc. So why do we need to put it down? Instead, we admire it. Say, this person is working so hard. This person is so willing to help people out, so willing to do this. I admire it. I wonder how long it took for this person to achieve this level of devotion to others, this level of detachment, this level of expertise, this level of mastery. It's like a painter. When they are beautifully skillful, instead of looking, but my painting is better. It's not about you. It's about the divine work in all of us. So let us all practice this admiration and say, wow, that's fantastic. You know what? I wonder how long this person worked to actually achieve this level of expertise in whatever it is. So from time to time, Jesus found them arguing and found them talking among themselves about who had more knowledge about the gospel. Levi continued his work as a tax collector, and Judas kept his small business. But they would gather together with the other companions daily. But the other 10 were almost always with Jesus near the transparent waters of Tiberias, as though they were participating in a celebration of constant illumination. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being with Jesus all the time? And we still can be with Jesus all the time. And you may be asking, what do I do? What do I need to do to make that happen? Easy, easy, easy. He told Matthew one day after his discarnation, he appeared to Matthew. He was fasting and praying. He was fasting and praying and expecting Jesus to stop by. And this is a story that was written by Umberto de Campos in another book. And then he wrote it down, and he was like fasting and praying, hoping Jesus was going to appear. And Jesus came along because Jesus is loving and caring. They had a meal together, talked, and then Jesus said goodbye and started leaving. And Matthew was puzzled, was like, Master, aren't you going to stay? I would like to cherish your company. He said, if you want to be with me, let's go to the valley of suffering. Because he was at the mount of his ego. Let's go to the valley of suffering. I'll be there. Matthew learned his lesson. He descended from his ego. He went down and he was there working with Jesus side by side, cherishing the company of Jesus, but working. So whenever we're doing good things for others, you bet he's with us. Open your heart and you see it. We'll see it. But it was time to start actively spreading the new doctrine. The Master gathered the 12 apostles in the house of Simon Peter, and he gave them the first instructions for the great apostolate. According to Matthew's narrative, the initial guidance by the Messiah explained the course of action that the disciples would follow in order to fulfill their responsibilities. Remember 2 nights ago when we were invited, or yesterday as well, to be Jesus' disciple? And you're like, yes, please, I want to be one of them. Okay, ready? Because he's going to give us the full instruction about it. Full instruction. It's a course of action. So, ready? He's going to lay it out to all of us. Beloved, Jesus told them with extreme mildness. Let us feel it. He was not forceful. He was not impositional. He was not like a general telling soldiers, do this, that, and the other. No. Hello, Norma, Angelita, Monica, friends. He was not. He was not impositional. So we need to change that idea that Jesus comes and judges and he comes and demands and pushes us to do something. He doesn't push anybody. No wonder the world is still learning about Jesus. No wonder, no wonder. He's the governor and he doesn't impose himself. It's okay. And he starts by expressing how he feels about us. He loves us. He loves us. Yes, you're feeling it. Hi, Joyce. So, friends, you're feeling it? His love. And his extreme mildness. I cannot enact it, but you can enhance in your mind, feeling this extreme mildness of Jesus. Beloved, you shall not take the wide road where everyone walks, led by easy and shallow interests. Instead, you shall seek the rough and narrow road of sacrifice for the good of everyone. Oh, my Lord, is he done? It looks like he's done because he summarized it all. No, he's just beginning it. He is giving the course of action to those who want to follow him, who want to be with him and work with him. And he first says, don't do what everybody does. Christmas time is coming, and we're like, oh my gosh, people put up trees and they did this. Well, you don't have to. No, you don't have to. You want to? That's okay. But if you don't want to, that's okay. You don't have to. Oh, I have to celebrate. Everybody celebrated somewhere. No, not necessarily. But he's saying, do not go and worry about easy and shallow interests. Shallow. Observe our Facebook. Let's observe it. There are people who are hungry in this world, or there are people who have difficulties. And it's something that a friend said in a beautiful conference we participated in Long Island on November 18th. And I forgot who said it, forgive me, but beautifully stated, saying that let's use our Facebook more responsibly, because sometimes we are like traveling and showing the pictures of our vacations, and we forget that there are many people who are working. That's not charitable. And that's very naive if we think people are gonna be very cheerful for us. Oh, but they're my friends. Let's be less naive. We are acquaintances, becoming friends. Not everyone is friends. And don't tease people's deception to life, with life. Instead, he says, you shall seek the rough and narrow road of sacrifice for the good of everyone. So if you're thinking today, I'm going to sacrifice in the name of Jesus, stop eating chocolate, it's not going to do any good to anyone but to yourself. So that sacrifice doesn't count. Yoo-hoo, wonderful. I don't need to stop it, right? Yes, that's right. Stop eating, stop exercising. No. We're only going to be aligned when we search, seek. We have to go after the narrow road of sacrifice. Also, he says, do not get involved in futile discussions as the Samaritans do. You know, nowadays we are pushed to discuss a lot. The other day somebody was posting something like this. Yeah, good for you, my friend Vanessa Godoy, who is saying here she loves chocolate. So you don't need to stop it. That type of sacrifice doesn't do anybody good. It doesn't help anybody. So, but yourself if you need it. But if you need some chocolate, science already says dark chocolate can be very important for the health. So there you go. The good news of this night. But my friend, now, nowadays we have Facebook, now we have all types of social media, we have WhatsApp, etc. It's tempting to go and start discussing things, and we'll be discussing. What for? What are we doing for it? Nowadays, abortion. In Brazil, for example, there was this very sad news about abortion being legal in the first 3 months of life. It's very sad. But if I stay discussing with my friends, like, you see this, you see that, you see, what can we do to help people? And don't forget, help people also who went through the process of abortion. I mean, the moms who didn't become moms. Because science already says soon after there are lots of consequences. Can we be more active than just like the Samaritans discussing? I know it's not a superficial discussion, futile discussion, but what can we create with it? An action instead of just blah, 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 blah. And do not get involved in disagreements that are counterproductive to sincere efforts to establish the true kingdom in the hearts of men. So people disagree, let's do what Jesus used to do. Stay put. Don't get involved. We're not going to save anyone. No, we don't save anyone. By the way, There is a psychological theory by Karpman that explains that whenever we place ourselves in the role of saviors, we start a circle of drama. Because as soon as we start saying, this person needs me, if it is not for me, this person, this group, this world is not gonna progress. And then soon after we start feeling taken for granted, and then we feel like victim. And then as soon as we feel victim, we start feeling anger. When we feel angry, we usually take action, become a persecutor, either passive or active. Actively, we go there, beat people up, kill them, or passively gossip about them, or we badmouth about them, create slanders, etc. And then as soon as we do that movement of persecution, we feel guilty. And when we feel guilty, we start again the circle of drama, the drama. And then, oh, but you see, now they need me more than ever. So it's all again, from savior to victim, victim to persecutor, and then again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. And you're right, Marco. Too much guilty, and because we start feeling like we're gonna save people. Hi, Jimmy. Thank you for being with us. So he says, first of all, search for the sheep that got lost from our Father's house. Interesting, huh? Because even in Spiritism, we sometimes find people who are like, oh, did you see that person? They are always surrounded by people who are drug addicts, always surrounded by people who are this and that and the other. Oh, really? So who are we to be with then? Are we going to be the Pharisees, the hypocrites now? Selecting just the good ones, the ones that are pure. These are the only ones we're going to talk to. These are the only ones we're going to be around. So then we need to reincarnate to learn a lesson, because in this life it's not working. I'm just figuratively speaking here. Search for the ones in distress. Search. He's not saying open your heart. He's saying go. Search. He's saying everything he says is very active. He says go after, search, seek for the ones who are in distress, those who voluntarily exile themselves from his divine love. Who are they? People who commit crimes? Yes. People who are abandoned in shelters, in nursing homes? Yes. Then we have this beautiful work going on of the Caravan of Love from Florida to Miami, Brazil, and many places. Gather with you everyone who has an anguished heart, and tell them that I said that the kingdom of God has arrived. You see, friends, he's telling us we want to be disciples. Be with those who are suffering. Not for you to be suffering, but like Emmanuel said to Chico once, there is a rule of engagement when we are with people. If you observe that that person can teach you, open your heart to learn. If you observe that that person needs your help, then be of help. But don't do the reverse. Try to help those, or think that you're going to teach those who are supposed to learn, from whom you're supposed to learn, or the opposite. And then you start learning from those who are suffering. It doesn't work. That's why many people are confused. So we need to go prepared. And here I open a parenthesis about emotional contagion. Because we will only be able to fulfill what Jesus is saying if we understand that we're coming with a particular emotion different from those who are anguished, because we're not anguished. And then we know what to do, and we don't allow their anguish to contaminate us. You may be asking, valid question, what do you do? There is no such thing as shielding ourselves in light. No. We only shield ourselves when we're really compassionate. Because then, As André Luiz says in the book that is yet to be in English, Mecanismos da Mediunidade, Mechanisms of Mediumship. He explains to us that once we raise our vibrations, we enter these constructive currents of thoughts, and we start emitting good and receiving the good. And this is the way we're going to be able to be around people who are suffering, but not fall in their suffering, not be contaminated by the suffering. So aiming higher, love. And you know, a good practical technique is like this. Sharing with people. I am a child of God. That person is a child of God. I don't need to be afraid. That person also has a guardian angel. The guardian angels are willing to help us. They need good instruments. May I be the instrument of the guardian angels, so I can be of service, do something useful with my time, my vitality, and help other people. Okay? Work to heal the sick, to cleanse the lepers, to raise those who are dead in the shadows of crime or in the ungrateful delusions of the world. Enlighten all spirits who are in darkness, giving freely of what you have been freely granted. He's talking about mediumship here, saying, you know, use it, but don't charge for it. Do not. And you know, some people, they blame the psychics, but you know, all those who live by their religious churches, the churches, they are also, you know, in a way, not giving freely what they freely received. Sorry. That's Jesus. We can't incur in that mistake. Never, ever. That's why we tell people, in the Spiritist Center, no networking. Business. Okay? Some people come because they think, I'm gonna find here a job, I'm gonna find here my clients, etc. That is wrong. 100% wrong. We cannot allow it. Okay? We can't. The Spiritist Center, the Spiritist community, any religious community cannot be used for search purposes. But Vanessa, these are the only people I know. Oh well. Sacrifice for the general good, and the general good is keep the center clean from our petty needs, because our material needs are not the goal of this life. Right? They are not. Do not display gold or silver with your garments, because the kingdom of heaven reserves the most beautiful treasures for the humble. We're saying, be in the world, but you know, do not abuse the worldly things. Hello, Ron. So, think about this. Do not display gold or silver with your garments, because the kingdom of heaven reserves the most beautiful treasures for the humble. He's just saying, don't be too attached to appearance. Don't be too attached to yours and others. But you know, scientifically speaking, when I teach students about patient management, I show them research, scientific findings, proving that patients trust doctors who particularly have a specific appearance, clean and neat, etc. That's how we are. And the reverse happens too. The doctors tend to treat patients better if the patients are more composed. That's unfortunately the rule. But Jesus is saying it shall not be the rule. Because sometimes behind a person that seems to be very simple, there's a wonderful heart. So we can't do this for the temporary limitations of this reincarnation. Correct? We need to train our eyes to go beyond the appearance. I know people who come even to spiritist meetings and like, oh, I love your shoes, or I love this, love that. Like, are you kidding me? That's not why we come here. We're not going to focus on this. Can you imagine Jesus gathering together saying, oh, Peter, you have such a beautiful tunic, such a beautiful robe. Come on. Look at people in the eye to eye, eye to eye. Everything else. Of course, we're going to be nice and neat, but we don't need to go to extremes. That's what he's saying. In your path, do not gather superfluous bags, tunics, or shoes, because those who work for their own livelihood are worthy workers. Okay? Who work for their own livelihood are worthy workers. So he's saying the reason why we work is for our sustenance in this life. Excuses to go to the superfluous are the wrong direction. When entering any town or village, find out who is searching for the goods of heaven with sincerity and devotion to God, and then share the blessings of the gospel with those who are worthy until you leave. Okay, he's telling you, since you're probably going to travel for the holidays, right? That's the message, the instruction for us. Yeah, it is. Really? Yeah. For example, if you travel to another country, Google where are there other spiritist centers there. Go there. Meet the other friends. Why not? It's so good, this family feeling. Or if you're going to visit a town, think about what you can do to help somebody else there during your vacation too. Oh, Vanessa, but it's my vacation. But remember, any useful occupation is work. So vacation is important as long as we use it also to help others. He's saying here, go and use that time that you're traveling also to spread the news. Right? You're right, my friend. We have a long journey, Adilson, and we're still attached to external values. Yes, the words of Jesus always bring us hope. Hi, Daniel Castellani. When entering a home, greet all with love. Oh, mamma mia. I wonder why he said that. Maybe because we don't do it? Yes, probably not. Do we greet all with love? Or we're like always, I'm not so sure what's gonna happen. Say hi very shyly. Greet with love. Quiz of tonight. What does it mean, greet all with love? What is it? We need to visualize it. Greet all with love. What is it? This is our homework, okay? Homework. What is to enter a home and greet everyone with love? Hello, Felipe. Right? Let's think about this homework. And Guilherme. If this household deserves the blessings of your dedication, embrace it with peace. But if the home is not worthy, return that same peace to your hearts. Do not take it personal. Do not take it personal. People are who they are. Remember, some days we're not feeling good. If people take it personal, please give us a break. We're just so humans. If nobody receives you or does not wish to hear your guidance, just leave, shaking the dust from your feet, and that is, leave without holding any grudge. These are Jesus' words. Holding any grudge and without becoming tainted by the iniquity of others. He's saying, chapter closed, the minute the door shut, go home. Don't go home and like, oh, did you see what they did? Did you see this? And then you talk to other people and WhatsApp people and Facebook about it and talk about it for a year, 2 years, 10 years. He's saying, oh, my disciples, please don't do that. Leave it alone. Shake it off, right? Shake it off, the dust from the feet and the grudges. do not take offense. Right? Yes, yes. Good company is to be together with all of you, yeah. In fact, I tell you that a day will come in which there will be less rigidity for the great sinners than for those who seek God with false belief on their lips and without sincerity in their heart. For this reason, I'm sending you as sheep into the wolves' den. And I recommend that you act with the simplicity of the doves and the prudence of snakes. Okay, hold the therapeutic tool he's giving to us. Simplicity of the doves, and the prudence of the snakes. Simplicity. That's it. And prudence. Cautious, careful, without impulsivity. One of the greatest problems of humanity nowadays is impulsivity. And since childhood, we need to learn to control impulses. Have you heard about the marshmallow experiment at Stanford University? That's a good one to recap. In the marshmallow experiment, which was like many years ago, they observed that children of a certain age, like 4 or 5 year old, when they are very impulsive, they cannot control themselves. Later in life, they will have several difficulties. People who commit suicide, usually they have that tendency to like resolve things one way and quickly and without thinking. We're not judging, we're just observing, so we learn about ourselves. Are we like that? Quiz of the night. Quiz of the night, my friends. Oi, Gustavo, how are you, my friend? And Maria Marcia. Big kiss to you too. So friends, are you impulsive? How impulsive are you? Quiz, I can almost see like scale 0 to 10, blinking, 0 being not at all, 10 being very highly impulsive. Where are you in that scale? How impulsive? Think about this. We can change it. How? Breathing and telling ourselves, hold it. I don't need to take action now. Let me observe. Become an observer. Practice observation of the world and the self. We'll tame our impulsivity. Breathing, becoming mindful, and telling ourselves, hold it, and then observe without taking action. Oh, but Vanessa, I'm hungry, I want to eat. Now when I start eating, like, what's going to happen if we breathe in and out before we actually devour the food? Nothing. The food's still going to be there. And we're going to tell the body, be prepared, because now we're going to eat. And we're going to enjoy that meal much more easily if we are less impulsive, if we are less, right, reactive to our stimulation, inner or outer stimulation. Okay, back to Jesus. Back to Jesus. He's teaching us so much. He's inviting us. He says there will be a day in which on the earth people are going to be, in a way, more rigid with the people who say things about God and love and they don't walk the talk. In a way, we're almost there, right? So much so that maybe people don't even want to be religious because they feel like it's just words. We're almost there. However, our brothers and sisters, be aware. Oh, did you see that? Did you observe it? He said, brothers and sisters. Ah, okay. To everyone. Be aware of some people because you will be delivered to their courts, and you'll be beaten in their magnificent temples from which the idea of God has been exiled. So he's saying, observe that some people may not be fair to you. He's just telling how it's going to be. You'll be led as defendants to the presence of governors and kings, tyrants and unbelievers in order to testify about my cause, like happened to Paul. Remember? And it may happen to us. However, in the days of painful humiliation, do not be anxious about what you have to say, because my word will be with you, and you'll be inspired by the words that you shall speak. He's saying we are always with him. We're together, he's saying. He's saying when you are going to be humiliated, don't be anxious about what am I going to say, what am I going to do. Rest in peace inside of us, because Jesus is going to inspire us, in other words. Ooh, wow. Because it's not we who are talking, but the loving Spirit of our Father who speaks through all of us. Humility to the top. Now, an invitation to humility. How often do we feel what Jesus feels? He's the governor of our planet. And he's telling us that what he's saying is not him, it's God that speaks through him. And he's saying, through you too. Phenomenal! How many of us are still stuck in those initiation thoughts? We feel like, oh, only a few are capable of these things. And Jesus is saying, no. You have a direct connection with God. Me too. All of us. How do you feel about this, my friends? That you and I and everyone have a direct connection with God. These are Jesus' words. It's not we who are talking, but the loving Spirit of our Father who speaks through all of us. And then he keeps talking about, for those who despise you and hate because of me, I'll be with you. When you're persecuted in one city, move to another. I tell you that in reality you'll never be alone, because my thoughts will always follow you. If you undergo suffering, take into consideration that I also came to earth to give testimony, and the disciple is not more than the master, nor is the servant more than his Lord. Disciple is never more than the master. So we can't expect any different. If the enemy of the light gathers temptations, jeers, ridicule, and cruelty against me, what wouldn't he do to my disciples? However, be aware that our Father is above everything. Above everything. Therefore, it's not necessary to be afraid, because one day the whole truth will be revealed and the good will triumph. So some people are like, oh, the world is bad and there's no hope. He's saying, hey, God is above everything. Don't be afraid, because good is going to triumph. Truth will be revealed. Wait, we're not in charge of the world. We don't need to stop sleeping and being in insomnia thinking like, oh my God, what's going to happen with the world? No, trust God. Let's trust God. Go and openly spread everything that I'm teaching you in private, because everything that you hear now will be the subject of your preaching from the rooftops. Work for the kingdom of God and do not fear those who kill the body, because they cannot annihilate the soul. Rather, be afraid of the malignant feelings that plunge the body and soul in the hell of conscience. Malignant feelings. Again, he's talking about feelings. Yes. Do we have malignant feelings? And people are going to say, no, I'm not saying you. Maybe I will say, no, I don't have malignant feelings. What are malignant feelings? Bad feelings. Negative feelings. Now we know, right? Spite, jealousy, egocentrism, fanaticism, and many things. He's saying, be careful with those. He's saying more and more and more. And he wraps up the instructions by saying, devote yourselves to the love of the gospel any of you who acknowledge me before humankind will also be acknowledged by me to my Father who is in heaven. Devote yourself to the love of the gospel, of the good news. Devote yourself. He's saying not to others, to ourselves, like St. Francis says. Right, St. Francis? Reminding us, preach the gospel, and if needed, use words. Right, Josara? She has that statement in her emails, I remember. Good reminder for us. Hello, Casey. So, the instructions by Jesus were heard for some time. When he was done with the speech, the expression of everyone's face was one of joy and profound hope. Are you feeling joyful and hopeful? Yes. The apostles wanted to contemplate the future of the gospel, of the kingdom. They trembled due to the joy of their hearts. That was when, now, we're almost wrapping up this chapter, and a major lesson unfolds for us, a therapeutic moment, okay? Therapeutic moment unfolding right here now, thanks to Humberto de Campos. Hello, Luis Henrique. Now, he says, that was when Judas Iscariot, before all of his companions, as if awakening from those deep emotions of enchantment, came forward to the Messiah and declared in firm but respectful terms, believe it or not, what he's going to tell Jesus. Lord, your plans are right and valuable. However, it's reasonable to consider that we cannot build anything without any financial contribution. Judas, are you kidding me? You're telling that to Jesus as if he didn't know, right? It's sad, right, Casey? It is sad. But how did Jesus reply? Emotional lesson for us. Jesus looked at him serenely, with serenity, and replied, did God need precarious wealth to create the beauties of the world? Money is a useful tool if it is on the hand of someone who can master it, but it will never be everything because love, with its infinite resources, is above all perishable treasures. All perishable treasures. In the middle of the general surprise, Jesus continued after a pause. And this is almost the end of it. Judas, in spite of the fact that I don't have any money in this world, this is Jesus. This is Jesus. I don't have any money in this world. I cannot ignore the first suggestion by those who will help me to build the kingdom of my Father in the souls of men. Put into practice your proposal, but be careful regarding the temptation of material possessions. Organize the financial contributions and keep them with you. However, never look for things that exceed the necessary. Okay? Never look for things that exceed the necessary. So this is for us the ultimate therapeutic moment tonight, because we are incarnated. Question for us. Are we looking for things that are exceeding the necessary? Are we looking for things that exceed the necessary? Right there, under the pretext of the need to encourage the initial movement for the great cause, the son of Iscariot took the first collection from among the disciples. But everyone's contributions were minimal, and modest coins were attentively collected by Judas. And then Judas, presenting Jesus the little purse, small enough to be lost in the folds of his robe, he exclaimed, satisfied, Lord, the bag is tiny. The bag is tiny. But it consists of the first step for us to be able to accomplish something. Jesus didn't lose his serenity. He looked at Judas and prophetically replied, "Yes, Judas, the bag is tiny. However, may God will be the one that you never succumb to the weight of this bag." Exactly. Pride and selfishness, Casey, according to the spirits. Egocentrism, and selfishness is always, always the roadblocks for us. So tonight, as we wrap up, we're thinking, am I exceeding the necessary now? Am I exceeding financially, materially speaking? Because here we have a lesson for us. The chapter begins by talking about searching for the narrow road, for the sacrifice of the general good, and Jesus ends by giving this lesson to us. May we be able to never succumb to the weight of our financial gains. Right? Yeah. How are you feeling, friends? I know the lesson today was intense, but the good news are so many. Remember, Jesus is giving us good news. Good news saying, be light, be joyful, organize your life, but search for those who are suffering. And I'll be always with you, no matter what happens and how many people are around. Be serene, learn how to help others, etc., etc. So we're feeling good? This chapter is for the disciples, about the disciples, to the disciples, if you feel like a disciple of Jesus, and not the Jesus of a particular religion, but this Jesus that is out of the cross, that never had a temple, never had a roof for him by himself, never. And he opened his heart to us. This is what we need. So let us cherish this presence and let us meditate on these beautiful instructions he passed on to us tonight. Stay hopeful and joyful. Meanwhile, watching out for not exceeding the necessary needs of this life, the minimal needs, okay? Big hug for those who are in the East Coast. Have a beautiful night. For those who are waking up, have a beautiful day. Those who are watching some other time, have a beautiful day wherever you are. Big hug, and until tomorrow when we're going to begin a new chapter. It's going to be about faithfulness to God. Thank you, friends. Till tomorrow.